Welcome to Soul, a weekly entertainment show on fashion, arts and culture, food, relationships and mental health. Our weekly co-hosts are Dr. Delvena Thomas, Imani Warren, and Chef Irie. Now introducing our host, Miss Nicky Gelin.
Hey, happy hump Wednesday. Hey y'all, this is Nicky Says You Only Live Once with MIA. And welcome to another Wednesday episode of MIA Magazine Presents Soul. So hope you're having a great hump Wednesday. We are going down the hump. Monday's out the way, Tuesday's out the way, Wednesday's about to be out the way. We only have 2 more days left. That's it. So this show is brought to you by our lovely sponsors, the Florida Lottery and Duke and Dame Whiskey, and also the FAMU Medical Marijuana Education and Research Institute. Get credible information and engage in a safe space to learn and talk about cannabis. Educate, learn, and talk about cannabis right here within Florida. So we are doing another exotic giveaway. We're doing a Black hotel giveaway in Miami-Dade County for your chance to win a one-night stay at any Black-owned hotel in Miami-Dade County. So the question is this: who was the first African-American millionaire in Miami? It's so simple. I've actually visited this person's home. It is located in Miami-Dade County. It's quite visible. It's I don't want to give it away, but this is such an easy way for you to win a hotel one-night stay. So again, for your chance to win the Black Hotel giveaway, answer who was the first African-American millionaire in hotel, and that's it. Now, the giveaway will end on Sunday before midnight. So look out for my customized video for your chance to enter and win. So y'all, it was a lovely weekend again this weekend. It's always a great weekend in South Florida. So the Creole Food Festival went down on Saturday. So the only festival showcasing Black and brown chefs from the Caribbean, South America, Africa, Latin America, and the South of U.S. was featured this weekend at the ancient Spanish monastery in North Miami. And what made it so special was that the featured chefs were all women from the diaspora. Now, hashtag, or actually colon, when people hear Creole, they usually think Haiti and New Orleans, and that's it. But the co-founder, whose name's Fabrice Armand, stated, and they keep on forgetting islands like St. Lucia, Martinique, and Guadeloupe. That's one of the reasons why we created this. And because we were doing our research, we realized that Creole is just food from the diaspora. So let's go ahead and drop the sizzle of what went down at the Creole Food Festival last Saturday.
Creole Food Festival is celebrating all cultures. It's uniting people through food and culture.
So I want to give a big shout out to all the women chefs. So shout out to Chef Thea, Chef Rose, Chef Franz, Chef Iris, Chef Kat, and also Chef Christina Coupet. And also a big shout out to Creole Essence. They're one of the featured sponsors for the Creole Food Festival. I love Creole Essence. And also LS Cream Liqueur, which is a Black-owned, Haitian-owned spirit company. So again, it's LS Cream Liqueur. Now, we have a special guest tonight. So we are celebrating Women's History Month. So in celebration of Women's History Month, 10 North Group presents Genius Species. It's a group exhibition on Black feminists curated by artist and scholar Anya Wallace. So we are joined tonight by artist Ebony White Rhodes. So stay tuned. We have a really deep conversation about just the exhibition and also the Black feminist journey. So don't go nowhere. Stay on your couches, on your beds, or where you're at in the kitchen, wherever you are. Now, I'm going to pass this over to my first co-host. She's our board-certified psychiatrist and also the founder of the Brain Love podcast. So Dr. Alma, also known as Dr. Delvena. What are we talking about tonight? I'm on the couch and ready for you.
Hey, Nikki, are you ready to take the couch?
I'm ready.
So while I was on break listening to your beautiful introduction, someone DM'd something to me that is, oh my gosh, I'm just speechless. It's from the Shade Room. Let me preface by saying that Uganda passes bill criminalizing those who identify as LGBTQ. Violations under the law include death and life imprisonment.
Wow. Yeah.
Let's pray for the world, man, because let's pray for the world. Meaning, you want to kill someone?
Because of their sexual preference, yeah.
Imprison a person? So anyhow, you know, that's the thing that creates mental duress and mental stress. Those types of things. And we know that the rates of child suicides, teenage suicides have risen because of gender identity issues. That's a part of it, and the bullying. But I don't want to digress. But that is something very important. Anyhow, what we're talking about tonight, I'm going to switch gears because you were just mentioning it was a great weekend. I'm so thankful for life, period, in general. Yes. But I'm also thankful we live where people come to vacation. It's spring break in South Florida. It's spring break in Fort Lauderdale and Miami, or I should say it's spring break all over the country, and folks flock to South Florida for spring break. You might be too young to remember this movie, but in the 80s, a movie came out called Spring Break.
Okay. No pun.
And it was a movie about teenagers who came to Fort Lauderdale to kick it, you know, for the weekend of spring break and all the little things they got into. It came out around the same time as like Porky's. Do you remember Porky's?
I don't know what Porky's is.
Oh my gosh. Those were the 80s movies, man. But anyway, it's spring break out here. There's a lot of stuff going on. There's always a lot of stuff happening here in South Florida, not just on the weekend, but during the week as well. You mentioned, or you will be mentioning, March is Women's History Month. So there's some great things happening with that. And the reason why I mention this stuff is because having a balance in life and being able to manage your mental health includes getting out and being social and creating relationships. Relationships are important. Spending time with people, it's important. You don't want to segregate yourself and isolate yourself. And before you know it, you're 60, 65, 70, and you look around and you're like, oh my God, I don't know anyone on a personal level. I knew the people I work with, but now I'm retired and I don't know anyone. So you want to be careful about that. You want to keep relationships fresh. You know, you want to talk to people and communicate and socialize and hang out. So during the month of March, I wanted to mention on my podcast, the Brain Love Podcast, which everyone should know by now is a podcast about mental health, everything under the umbrella. March Madness is the theme for the podcast this month because it's Women's History Month. And we've had 3 guests on so far who have been just fabulous. These are the guests who were on last Sunday. Angie Moss was on. Oops, that's I sent the wrong flyer. So put your finger over the title of her segment, please. It was called The After Party. I didn't send the producer the edited one. So sorry, Angine. My bad. But these have all been great guests, and we have another superb guest coming on Sunday night, Pastor G, Realness in the Church. So Pastor G is the pastor of, TGR is the acronym for the church. But you can go on GRT, I'm sorry. It's similar to my business, DRT, but they call it GRT, God's Redeeming Temple. And then there's some other cool stuff happening. Women do a lot of stuff during the month of March. Pastor G, you can move to the next one. Pastor G mentioned something, and that's women helping women. And Women's Month is all about that. We do it all the time, don't we, Nikki? We help each other. Yes, we help each other on social media, on Instagram. I see you big upping people on their stuff and liking their stuff and commenting. You know, we have to support one another. Saturday night at a private home. When you buy your ticket, you'll find out who's home, and the home is dope. We have Jazz Under the Stars, Dexter Bridgman, who is the CEO and the founder of MIA, Legacy, MIA Soul, all the shows that come on. He's a co-host. The president of the Miami-Dade Chamber, Eric Knowles, is a co-host, as well as Bill Diggs. So they're raising money for Girl Power. That's Saturday night at 6 p.m. You can still get tickets. You can still gain entrance. And then coming up, the next thing for women is next Wednesday at the Ship Miami, Women Abounding in Wisdom, Health, Wellness, and Worth. It's a 3-day conference, and DRT Behavioral Services, specifically our spa, will be participating. We will be there. I'm speaking on mental wellness and mental health for the ladies. And the ladies, I almost said girls, the ladies from our spa will be joining me. So we are talking to them and taking them some free gifts and talking to them about self-care. Self-care is your friend. Do not allow anyone to pull you away from your self-care, whether that's your facials, your nails, your hair appointment, your massages, your foot care. I went to a foot massage the other day. It was Sunday evening. It was so good. When you go to those little spots, they just rub you and get you the right way for $60.
You're not gonna tell us where? You're gonna keep it to yourself?
No. I'll also, it's a place on Sterling Road going west. On Sterling Road, I'll send you a picture of the business card. It was $60. This man rubbed all over my feet, my lower leg, and he did about 15 minutes on my back and my glutes and my thighs. Very legitimate place. I know some people are like, oh, I don't want that. Looks seedy. I don't want to go in there.
I know how them places look.
They do the best massages, and it's clean in there. It smells clean, and you're not looking around like, I don't know if I should be here. So the other thing I want to tell you about for Women's Month, the month of March, is there it is, Glitz and Girl Power. It's the award show. It's back Thursday night on the 30th. Doors open at 6. The event starts at, you can't see it, but the event starts at 8 p.m., I believe. That's correct. Just go to their website or go to their Instagram page, and the information is there. So G&G is back for their award show. And then there's one last thing, I think, or is that it? Ah, surprise! My reminder about the Brain Sleep and Brain Food books. You can order these on Amazon. I'm being nice. The price is still cut in half. They were $19. And, people supported me at $19. So this is not about the price, because folks will pay. They want the information. These are $9.99 still. I reduced the price during the holidays, and I just haven't gone back in to change it back. But $9.99. Go on Amazon. If you search for my name, Dr. Delvena Thomas, they'll come up. If you put in Brain Sleep or Brain Food, which is the name of the one underneath, it'll bring up all types of other stuff that they sell on Amazon with those names. So put in Dr. Delvena Thomas, do a search, and they will pop up. Order both of them. These things are, the information will never get old. You can continue reading this and getting information and passing it on to your children, your loved ones. Share it with people. And they're illustrated. See the cover? Look at me with the sleep pajamas.
And I'm like, that's
on.
you. Like, you look so cute on the cover.
Oh, that's me. Yep, they were illustrated by Alfrena Musa. Alfrena Musa, the art minister.
Wow.
So that's all I have for you, Nikki.
Wow, so many things happening. We only have like a week left in March, but it's so busy. It's always busy. So
Crazy,
it is crazy.
crazy. What do
Yeah.
you have coming up? What are you
Well,
doing?
I'm gonna see you at Jazz Under the Stars. I'll be there
Yay!
definitely. And for the viewers, it's a really dope house. It's beautiful. Get your tickets. It's for a great cause, girl power. It's Women's History Month. So that's all I gotta say. Yeah, but that's it for now. Yeah, my March is dying down. That's it.
Yeah, you're all over the place in a good way. You
Yeah, but I would
represent
love to see
well.
you. I would love to see you at the Genius Species exhibition in Opa-locka. It's about the Black feminist movement. So
Whoa.
I will send you the information.
Please
But
do.
I will definitely.
What's the
Definitely.
date? What's the date?
So it kicks off on Friday. I believe the exhibition is for a month.
Okay.
But I will send it to you because I think you'll definitely benefit from that and you'll love the experience as well. So
Yeah.
I'll text it to you.
And I'll show up in numbers. Most of the people here are women in the office and the spa. So, and I'll bring the guys too if they want to. 2 of them right now. But we're onboarding
bring
2
the
more.
guys. Bring
Yes.
the guys. They have to be educated too about this movement. So definitely.
Absolutely.
So thank you so much. I'll say brain love.
Okay, brain love.
And we'll see you soon.
Bye.
And y'all, now on to my next co-host. He is Jamaican-born celebrity NFL and NBA chef. He's also a guest chef on the Ricky Smiley Morning Show. So Chef Irie. Bloop, 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 bloop.
Hello, Nicky. What's going on?
Wagwan.
How are you?
I'm good.
Well, that is awesome. So, how was the festival on Saturday? The Creole Food Festival?
Oh my gosh, it was such a great experience. And the thing is, like, Creole is not just Haiti and Louisiana or New Orleans. It's
Right.
it's the diaspora. So there were so many chefs there representing their nation, their country. And I do want to say that a lot of people, a lot of Caribbeans and even outside the Caribbean, they tend to think that the Caribbean is only Black people as far as our skin color. But at the festival, you had Haitian chefs who looked white. You had, so what I'm saying is it's the diaspora is so diverse as far as our color, how they cook, the spices, the seasoning. And I do want to say one thing that, as far as the Caribbean and as far as the diaspora, we all have the same fundamental root ingredients. It's just cooked differently. That's it.
Yeah, which is something that I tend to push a lot on the show in terms, the diversity of the Caribbean and why it's so important to me and the foods that I create, because we're not a monolithic group, in terms of what we do, what we eat. Our cultures are so vast and different, and it's representative of so many of us across the globe. So it's an awesome place to be from. And I'm glad that I'm there to represent, the Caribbean, in so many different ways. So, yeah. So when I boom it up Indian style, Chinese style, European style, I'm just saying Scandinavian style, Dutch style, all of that is represented in the Caribbean. So what we're doing today, by the way, today is Bavarian Crepes Day. So if you feel in the mood and you want to make some crepes later tonight, Bavarian Crepes Day today. So we're going to do something a little different today real quick, for sure. So earlier I was asking if you cook. And he said, yeah, I cook. I was like, all right, cool. So I just wanted to showcase some of the things, some of the tools, some of the simple tools, I think they're simple, I don't know, that I use in, most of my my day-to-day when I'm cooking, whether it's cooking for me or in the kitchen, and talk a little bit about what's necessary for people at home. So we're gonna go through real quickly. We're gonna talk about knives real quick. So knives, all right. This is a knife, yes, everybody, yes. Yeah. And this is an 8-inch chef knife, all right. So what's the most dangerous tool in a kitchen, Nikki? You tell me real quick. The most dangerous tool in a kitchen.
A knife.
Okay, but why? What kind of knife? Not necessarily, the type of knife it is. So
the sharp knife that you chop the onions and the peppers with.
All right. So one of the most dangerous tools in the kitchen is a dull knife. So this is not a very sharp knife right now. And why is it dangerous? So the knife that we have is supposed to do the work for you with a little bit of effort in the hands, right? The wrists, the hands, how you hold the knife properly and all that good stuff. But the blade of the knife is supposed to do most of the work for you. So the sharper the blade, the less effort you put into what you're cutting. So if you're cutting vegetables and you're having to push down on the knife, that is not so good. That tells you that your knife needs a little bit of sharpening, right? So that 8-inch chef knife. All right. What do people most ask me? What kind of knives to get? How many knives do I need? Well, for the most part, I think most people that cook in their homes need about 3 knives. This knife, 8-inch chef knife, a 6-inch paring knife. All right, we'll tell you real quickly why. And a serrated knife. And people will call this a bread knife. So serrated like that. Great for breads. And it's also great for tomatoes, right? So if you have a dull knife and you have one of these, this will slice your tomatoes a lot better. It will go through like butter. Trust me. Yes. Paring knife. Why you need a paring knife? Because sometimes it just works when you're doing onions and you're peeling onions, and sometimes you feel the knife is too big for you. Guess what? This little guy comes in handy. You peel it off, and it works because it fits in your hand very comfortably, right? And you don't have to worry about, oh my God, this knife is too big. And then you start to hold the knife incorrectly because you're wanting to have the knife fit in your hand. So that's why you have the handle. So don't be trying to hold a knife up here, Yes, exactly. So those 3 knives, I think, are the knives because these 2 knives are the knives that you'll probably use the most in your kitchen. So when people are, how much do I need to spend? You don't need to go out there and spend $1,500, $2,000 for a knife set. You don't have to buy you don't have to buy the most expensive knives either, right? A good knife, should cost you, anywhere from, $40 to $70. A really good knife. A really, really good knife will cost you a lot more than that. Well, how much do you, and so I say spend the money if you know that you're going to be cooking a lot. Spend money on something that's quality, that's durable, right? And for God's sakes, if you're spending the money for that, do not put them in the dishwashing machine. I'm just saying, do not put very good knives in the dishwashing machine. All right. Boom. So there you have 3 knives. All right. Here we go. One more knife. All right. So this is a cleaver. All right. So when we are doing a lot of fabricating, in the kitchen, so a lot of the cleavers could be bigger. So this is actually a 6-inch cleaver, right? So they can be bigger. The surface area of the cleaver could be wider. So if you've ever seen cleavers in Chinese restaurants, they don't look like this. Oh. They're very big. Surface area is, a little longer, and they're very square, but they are also very sharp because in Chinese restaurants and Asian cooking, this type of knife, a cleaver, is what they mostly use for everything. They use it to chop vegetables, to cut meat, to cut bones, and their cleavers are super sharp because their whole thing is efficiency and quickness. So you don't want to be struggling with dull cleaver. Boom. For me, this is a knife that you would probably never ever use in your kitchen. So this is a fish fillet knife. And why is it important to us? So we got different types of fishes that we break down so that we get, especially if you're in, not just a restaurant, but you go to your fishmonger and they will have knives like this, maybe a little bigger, but it's the flexibility in the blade. See how it bends? Nice and easy. So when we put this knife below the skin or the meat of the fish to push it, boom, and you want to have some flexibility in the blade, right? So when you're pushing down, cut, yes. And this knife is very sharp, because you want it to be very sharp, and of all your knives. So this is a fish fillet knife, and yeah, you probably wouldn't use it in your house, but this is one of our most important tools. So those are, so real quickly, another 2 tools that are very useful. So we got a thermometer, right? So thermometers in the kitchen come in various temperature degrees. So you have temperatures for cooking, and you have thermometers for baking and pastry, right? In terms of the degrees setting that's on the knob. So basically, this is your meat thermometer. You stick it in, and it immediately tells you the temperature that it's reading currently, right? So a lot of thermometers, some of them will go up to 225. A lot of thermometers will go up to 300 and something degrees, sometimes even more. The digital thermometers, they tend to go a little higher because they're built like that. Microplane. So when you grow up, so this is a very cool, fancy grater. So I don't know, we call it microplane because it's actually a grater, but the microplane is actually the brand name of this thing. But we just say microplane. And why is this cool? When you're doing a recipe and it calls for the zest of an orange, the zest of a lime, the zest of a lemon, this works because it's able to remove the zest of that fruit very cleanly without going to the white part of the citrus, which tends to be a little bitter, right? So you want this to remove just right above the skin and just take off the zest. Awesome tool to have. I recommend that everybody gets one of these and put it in your kitchen. It's awesome. And the last thing for me on the go. So this is a quick sort of knife sharpener, and it's really cool because it has a protective barrier for your hands. So if you're thinking about, oh my God, I'm going to sharpen the knives and cut myself, the whole idea is for this not to do that. This is a very simple tool, and basically this is on the table. It always lays flat. You have your knife, and you just run the knife a couple of times. Boom, sharp, get a little sharpness to the knife, and then you'll go back and you'll use the steel to make sure that knife stays whole. So these are tools for me, Chef Irie, all the chefs, and most chefs will tell you we're like crazy women, that spend money on shoes and bags. Well, we spend money on tools. We spend money on knives. We spend money on just pretty much anything. If it's a gadget and it looks cool and it works, we will spend the money on that. So go out, and if there's something that fancy you and you want to add it to your kitchen, these are some of the tools that you should have. The thermometer, the knife, set of knives. Go cook and have fun. And remember, always keep your knives sharpened. Boom.
Cheers to that. Salute.
What you drinking today? Oh, our drinks look similar.
I know. It's Colombian rum. Colombian.
What? Wait a minute. What? We got you on the rum kick now, girl. What's up?
I went to Cartagena, Colombia about 3 weeks ago, and I brought back home some authentic Colombian rum. So this is what it is.
You didn't bring me back a bottle?
I got you. Chef, are you
I
got you. Shh. I got you. All right. Yeah. I'm gonna hit you up. I see you before Friday.
Oh yeah. By the way, so if you're listening and watching, check out the IG and MIA website for our Easter menu. Yes, Chef Irie is doing a pickup menu. So check it out. My site, MIA site. Place your orders. Yeah. Boom.
Yeah.
Shop.
Awesome. Sounds good. All right. So we'll see you next week, Wednesday. Have a happy Hump Wednesday night. Peace out.
Aye, aye, aye.
Aye, aye. All right, y'all. So tonight we have a very special guest. So we're joined by artist Ebony Rhodes in celebration of Women's History Month. So 10 North Group presents The Genius Species. It's a group exhibition on Black feminists curated by artist and scholar Anya Wallace. So Ebony, thanks for being our guest tonight. How is your Wednesday going?
Thanks for having me. It's going well. Happy to be here. I know the esteemed Dr. Anya Wallace, our curator, would love to have joined us, but alas, travel issues. So I'm happy to be here to represent this great exhibition.
Yes, we're happy to have you here. So tell us a little bit about your background.
So my background is kind of a winding path. So this is my debut exhibition as a visual artist. I know, so I'm very excited, but I've spent, the past 10 years working in independent school education while also using my philosophy and religious studies background, working on different collaborative art projects where I can. So I've kind of been all over the place. I've done some collaborations with Outshine LGBTQ Film Festival, and also I've been working on an experimental philosophy text that incorporates my art and some of my writing and my ideas that have been grounded in this work I've been doing in the community for the past, several years. And so I'm excited to get some traction with that. Working with a great artist out in New Mexico, Paula Wilson, has been a great mentor to me to help me get to this place. So I've kind of just been seeing my worlds converge, where I can use creation, whether in intellectual thought or through education, working with people, or through visual art as a means of just kind of inspiring people. That's what I'm about.
Yeah. So maybe I missed it, but are you from South Florida or were you born?
No, I am actually from Northern Virginia, outside DC. So yes, I went to UM and I ended up getting caught up in the beautiful city of Miami. But yes, I've been here for a long time, but originally I still have the Virginian accent, I'm told. So
yeah, I'm like, I don't think she's from down here. So I'm like, let me
right.
figure out where exactly.
Yes, that is an important detail. Yes.
I would say I've been to Virginia a couple of times, that whole DC DMV area. Yep. And my favorite spot is Bus Boys and Poets.
Oh, I love that place. Yeah, my good friend lives there now. And so, we it's a good spot.
That's my spot. So when did you discover the kind of art that you wanted to represent, or who inspired your direction?
Yeah, it's a great question. I feel like this is something that I'm still discovering. So I love that question. But I think one theme or one thing that's always been a thread for me is color. I love color. I have something called synaesthesia. For those who know what that is, it's like where numbers or words or letters have specific colors in my mind. What? And so I realized that as a kid, I loved crayons, like just the variety. And so as I got older, I started melting them down and doing these really cool like wax images. And so as I've continued into oil painting and pastel, which the work that's in the show is some pastel drawings, I see that as a theme of, I think I love working with really bold kind of dynamic color, and color as kind of representing concepts or themes or ideas in my mind, that I'm still kind of discovering.
Awesome. Yeah. So you're really much into color. So like, how would you describe your vision, your creativity, and your pieces? Like,
well, that's also the theme. The pieces that are in this show are kind of a unique set, because they're specific to the experience I had kind of going through 2020 and this racial uprising and working in an independent school and everything that went into that. I would say in general, I see the nexus of my work as being the intersection of philosophy and visual art. And so a lot of my work, like my expanding body, is actually looking at language and different uses of language and thinking about line and color as being the same in the written word as in the visual word. So I know there's a lot of artists kind of exploring that theme. So I would say the ability to kind of show complexity or, just kind of thinking about the ways that my written philosophy can be expressed through the visual medium. So that's where I'm at.
That's awesome. And we are going to show some of your pieces towards the end of this interview. Aaliyah queuing you up. All right. So going into the next question. So we're talking about the exhibition, and it really focuses on Black feminists, the movement, and just advocates for us, So Black feminist thought, the Black feminist thought is written and published by Patricia Hill Collins in 1990. So Collins believes that the power of nationalism must be considered for its role for furthering racist thinking and its potential for empowering African Americans through Black nationalism. So my question is, with the Black feminist thought, what's your take on this theory, given that it was written in 1990 and now it's 2023?
Well, one thing I would definitely highlight is in my own research and kind of interest in looking at the Reconstruction era and then the Civil Rights era and then today, it's amazing to me the parallels and similarities to how this thought cycles, right? Racist kind of growth in racist thought, right? That then leads to a response from the Black community and a need to kind of match that in a way that's powerful, right? And empowering. And so in that sense, I would say, it's clear now that kind of a rise in nationalist thought and kind of how that goes along with white supremacy in this country came about over the past few years. And so now we're at kind of this peak moment with the culture wars, where the question then remains, I guess, is what's the similar response, right, from the Black community in terms of as a tool or of galvanizing our own sense of power. And I think that's something that the exhibition's kind of exploring. I think it's an open question that's exciting to me right now, actually, but it's very relevant, almost more so perhaps now that we're facing these challenges than maybe even 10 years ago.
No, and I agree, definitely. And I do feel that like in the early 1990s, we didn't have social media. And now like 33 years later, we have Facebook, Instagram, there's Twitter, there's Snapchat, there's YouTube, there's so many different platforms for us to even have like a voice, to be more expressive and to be more open about being Black and female. So sure. I do feel like there's been like an involvement since then. And I think that there's more of an awareness in a sense, given that was about 33 years ago and now it's 2023. So, which leads me to my next question. So, intersectionality, the term was coined in 1989, a year before Patricia Collins wrote her book, Black Feminist Thought. So, intersectionality indicates that each identity, being Black and female, should be considered both independently and for their interaction effect, in which intersecting identities deepen, which reinforces one another. So being Black and female deepens the reinforcement to one another and potentially lead to aggravated forms of inequality. So my question is, do you feel that given it's about 30 plus years later, being Black and female, are they both still independent and aggravated forms of inequality, or do you see that it's shifting more to being equal?
That is a great question.
I know it's a deep question, girl. That was like there was so many words in that question. My apologies for that, but
no. How is it shifted? I think that's really the question is, I mean, again, we're having this conversation right now when literally the word intersectionality is, under fire, is under attack or being censored, or there's an attempt to, right? So I would say, if anything, we look at kind of the major figures or players behind who's doing that, it's white men. I mean, I only say that to kind of highlight, in terms of political power, what I think in terms of how it's seen as a threat only highlights the fact that there are these unique classes that still somehow find or understand themselves or their sense of identity in it. And that seems perhaps threatening. I think the way that Black studies and Black thought is oftentimes, when it's under attack, then leads to an attack on women's studies, right? When it comes to thinking about gender studies and how that then flows into sexuality studies, for example, how it's all kind of, it follows train. I think there's a distinctness in each of those areas where the word still holds true for so many different people in terms of being able to articulate a unique lived experience. So I would definitely say, as someone who actually occupies three of those, kind of factors, that in different spaces and at different times, it's absolutely uniquely a unique challenge to have to orient your identity to a space, right? Which again is kind of what my work is looking to explore for myself. Yeah.
And I just feel as Black women, I don't want to say women of color, but as Black women, there's so many layers that we always have to have these barriers and layers to protect us. We're women, but we're not white. We're not European Hispanic. We're Black, So if you're in the corporate world, if you're in like your own like community, if you're in certain spaces, there's so many layers that we have to kind of endure in order to survive. We have to like adapt or conform or just put on that facade in order to survive in that particular space in a certain time. So, and for me personally, to answer that question for myself, like inequality, I feel like it still really does exist. I don't think that we're necessarily there as of yet. I feel like there's more awareness, but there's still more work that needs to be done because we're still trying to figure it out. We're still trying to find our place. We're still trying to show the world that we belong in this space as well. We belong to be here as long as the white men and the white women. We deserve that same respect and the same recognition and the same space. Okay, I'm done ranting. All right, so now, because I can go on and on and on. Okay.
Yeah, well, the fact that it's even still a question, right? The fact that we're still asking the question, right? It's not commonplace, like, of course, right? Yeah.
Like, why do we have to? It's very deep, and look, there's a lot within our history. And if I can go back as Sarah Bartman, I don't know if you know her history, but like it goes back to then, and there's so many like layers that we have to endure as far as our physical appearance, as far as being accepted, how we look, how we sound, how we present ourselves to be accepted. I mean, there's so many layers, and it could be mentally draining, and that's a whole nother, I guess, conversation that we can talk about. So now back to the exhibition. So Genius Species is influenced by scholars such as Evelyn Hammonds, Toni Morrison, and popular icons like Aretha Franklin and Nicki Minaj. So tell us about the concept behind Genius Species and why these figures are so instrumental.
Well, this is one where I'm going to pull from some of Anya Wallace's language around the concept behind Genius Species, since this was her kind of her project and her birthing. But really, at the end of the day, let's see, that the exhibition is a look at Black feminist thought in practice, right? So it's this kind of engaging our audience into a conversation about how it's woven, how genius is made, what it looks like, where it comes from. So it's very much kind of an invitation into this space. And so where she's coming from and kind of thinking about these scholars, I know, Evelyn Hammonds talks a lot about the geometry of Black female sexuality. And so a lot of Anya Wallace's work, the center of it is looking at pleasure and centering that in Black female sexuality as this opportunity, right, to really catalyze Black girl genius, like whether, and girls coming into their own sense of sexuality and women at the same time. And then looking at Toni Morrison, the idea of averting the white gaze. So it's very much centered in a conversation about Black women, our visual sphere, and the way in which we experience space and time as it kind of bends with our presence, right? So this kind of the black hole theory. So a lot of the work in different avenues and different places, and the many brilliant artists that I'm lucky to be exhibiting next to are exploring it from different avenues. And I would say, kind of interesting going to the previous comment you made about Sarah Bartman. I know Nicki Minaj and like certain figures that kind of there's a way in which you can play off of their aesthetic presentation, right, in society and in their music videos. Is it kind of a play? It's almost inverting that, taking that kind of stereotype and catalyzing it as the businesswoman, catalyzing it as the one in control of pleasure and of creation. So I know that in terms of some of those figures, or looking at contemporary figures as representations of this thought, that's definitely an inspiration and a part of kind of how we're engaging the conversation.
Yeah, and it's just so ironic because like the whole Sarah Bartman image has crossed over into other ethnicities and races as well. And I know that's a whole nother like show and conversation, but yeah, it's just, and given what Sarah went through herself during that time, it's, it's very deep and dark and mentally exhausting. And given now it's 2023 and she's now the epitome of sexuality as far as appearance. And
well, she always was, right? I think that's
always was.
Yeah, was. It's just again the way that that attracts to you as a Black woman is complex, right? It's challenging, and I think that's why she's such an amazing figure in history to really study and understand as relative to our own sense of self.
Yeah, she was ridiculed for her physical image, and now people are paying to look like her. But anyways,
exactly,
another conversation.
Yes,
we have to have a part 2 for this.
Right.
So now credit should be given to Black feminist activists such as Alice Walker, Kimberly Crenshaw, Angela Davis, and Patricia Hill Collins. However, a lot of Black celebrities have encouraged mainstream discussion on what Black feminist or what Black feminism should be. So given that we're getting our education from Black celebrities like the Nicki Minaj's, the Cardi B's, the Beyoncé's, are we woke in a sense that we're not listening to the Angela Davises or the Kimberly Crenshaws? Like, what's your take on that?
So I would definitely continuing the conversation we've been having. I would say there's definitely an interplay in both, right? Like, and at least in my conception of Black feminist genius, like, it's to understand that we're capable of speaking on profound issues or presenting something that shakes our culture or our minds in many different iterations, many different fields, right? So I would say that, especially in looking at the Academy and some of the work, just as we were saying, like, how much Nicki Minaj has influenced, Anya Wallace as a scholar, other scholars in her field, I think, and vice versa. I think there's a desire to be able to articulate and theorize about culture so that we can then take that and use it to our own means, right? So I feel like whether or not the artists kind of in the public sphere are always speaking to those issues that are so important and that are so well documented, well researched and articulated by the academics and the scholars, they still, I think, are necessarily influenced by it in the way that academic thought influences art influences culture, and so on, right? And then culture influences what gets studied and what gets looked at in the Academy. So I would say it's all good, right?
Yeah,
we Black women doing everything we can and just displaying our genius in every way possible. So that's what I would say.
Right. Yeah. I think we kind of all need each other in a sense. I'm in the marketing industry and field, and I study like audiences, demographics and everything. And it all depends on how can we convey this message to this particular audience and group. So some groups, they gravitate towards the Angela Davises and the Kimberly Crenshaw. And then there's other groups where they gravitate towards the Nicki Minaj's and the Beyoncé's and the Cardi B's or whatever. So, if pop culture is able to pull education from the OGs in a sense, to educate the new generations, then I'm all for it, So love your answer. Phenomenal. Definitely. And I'm a crossover of both in a sense, but my main concern are for like the Gen Zs, you know what I'm saying? Like the Gen Zs, they need to be educated. Them Gen Zs, TikToks and,
And you were saying with social media, right? Like that's new. Yeah. And so the access to all this information and all this images without actually studying and knowing the context can be dangerous for sure. So I'm with you on that. I'm definitely with you on that.
Yes. And Aaliyah, can we please pull up any kind of info about the exhibition? And Ebony, what can we expect from this exhibition? When does it start? When does it end? Give us all the deets.
So it opens this Saturday at the Arc in Opa-locka. I'm so excited. So what you can expect, you can see the featured artists there. We have just a great, I think on the next slide, there's kind of a snapshot of the different art you're going to see. So there's different mediums. There's photography. There's some sculpture. There's my pastel work in there, some drawing, some painting, so some encaustic prints. So there's a really wide range of mediums represented and subjects that kind of come together. And I feel like just that conversation, that cross-pollination that's going on in the room, I think that this is really going to be a cool exhibition to create space to really have dialogue and conversation around Black woman genius, right?
Yes.
What that means, what that looks like. And again, my hope is that it catalyzes, it starts a conversation. It's needed now more than ever. So I'm hoping that this exhibition will also continue a conversation, especially in Miami, in our state, about what we need to do to use this genius to continue to educate Gen Z, right? The next generation, and continue to keep us strong and inspired.
I'll be there on Friday for the actual opening. I got my outfit picked out. I got my little selfie stick ready for everything to capture all the content. I'm like excited.
Yeah, we do have the VIP reception. We're excited. We're all gonna convene.
Yeah, and you'll be there as well.
I will be there. It's gonna be great to see you outside of the screen.
Yes, definitely. So when I see you, get ready because we're gonna be doing like a lot of selfie pictures and all of that stuff, content for the TikToks and all of that stuff. Okay, great.
I love it. That's great. Thank you.
Definitely. So now we're gonna go into our MIA Soul Talk. Okay. So I don't know why you're on mute. Why are you muted, Ebony? Did you mute yourself? Okay, perfect. Okay. So what is your favorite place to visit?
So, I'm thinking about this. I'm going to pick some place local. That's my favorite go-to spot is actually Biscayne National Park down by Black Point Marina. It's super low key, but you can just drive there and it's almost like immediately you're in wild nature. And this little strip, it's a great walk, but it's the place I need to go. If I need to go for a quick drive to be able to be kind of immersed in the peace of just wild Florida, it's my favorite spot.
Is there any wildlife like snakes and like
there are birds? There's a lot of birds. I have seen actually a manatee come up that's right on the water. I've seen alligators. I've seen iguanas. So okay, yeah, you're right there. There's still a little past, so don't worry. It's not like that. It's still safe.
You lost me alligators. Okay. All right. So R&B or neo soul?
This is a good one. I'm gonna have to go with neo soul.
Okay. Yeah. So for example,
is still on my constant playlist all the time. She's just has been there.
Who is it?
Sade.
Oh, it's Sade.
Yeah. Okay, I was gonna say she's probably my. So I'm like, I feel like I need to go with that just because she tips the scales of just like. Yeah. I'm always in the mood. I'm always in the mood for Sade.
She is a neo soul OG, and you know what? Like on my playlist, I have Snow Allegra. I don't know if you know Snow Allegra.
I do not. No.
Snow Allegra to me is a modern day pop culture Sade, like Snow Allegra, and she's from like the Middle East, but she's so obsessed with R&B and neo soul music, and I think her muse was Sade. But yes, but Sade all day. So, what would you tell your younger self, and how old would you be?
So. This one, I immediately go back to 13-year-old Ebony, because when I was 13, I kind of had this awakening, and it was my first true, everybody that knows me knows this, my first true philosophical text. It was called I Make Sense. And I started writing at 13, and I was very serious about it.
Yeah.
And I feel like the spirit in that young girl that really wanted to be able to think for herself and be able to assert her sense of the world was like just kindling there. And I would go back and tell her, keep up, like stay with it. I love this. And I promise you that everything you're writing, like later me will use it and will need it. Like sometimes I kind of lean on her strength sometimes, and the assuredness I had when I was a little girl that, look, the world will try to chip away at that in you, right? So I feel like if anything, I go back and just encourage, just as much encouragement as possible, and to also just give her a kiss and say, I love you.
Yeah. And 13 is like your first teen.
Yeah, I was like, all right, like what is this world about? You know, I was really serious about it.
Wait, do you still have that? Did you write it down? Yeah. Or you still have it?
Yeah, like this is my first real text. I'm like, one day this might mean something, I don't know.
Okay, wait, when you say text, do you mean like on the phone, or do you mean like on paper?
No, I started writing, right? So my writing practice kind of blossomed at that age and around that time. And I go back now and I see that, you know, I had this very like philosophical way of wanting to write. Like I want to make sense. I want what I write to be logically sound, right? So that nobody can refute me. That was like my spirit. So that little piece of music
right now.
Yeah.
And you're here now, like sending your message to us, you know? So that's your gift. Yeah. We all have a gift and a purpose. We just have to be silent and listen to what that gift is, and then try to share it with the world. You know, we all have a purpose on this planet. So you found your gift and your purpose, and now you're here to share that with us. And I will definitely see it on Friday.
Yeah. Yes. All right.
So, Ebony, thank you so much. I'm very excited. I really love this topic. I'm Black, I'm female. There's so many layers that we have to endure. I'm also Caribbean as well. So there's like, we have so many
layers
we got to go through. But we'll talk more on Friday. Get ready for our pictures. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. See you later.
Yes.
All right.
Good night. And y'all, don't forget, we are doing a Black Hotel giveaway in Miami-Dade County. So for your chance to win a Black Hotel giveaway stay in Miami-Dade County, answer this simple question. Who was the first African-American millionaire in Miami? And that's it. The contest kicks off tonight, ends on Sunday midnight. Good luck, and we'll see you next week, Wednesday.